right, and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Strange Planet. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about technology. Is it making society more stupid? Is it convenient as it is, I guess, but is it doing more damage than good? You can include social media, you can include basically everything from that to even video games involved into this in a sense, and even AI. But I guess before I say too much, at least, what do you guys think? Is technology making society a little dumber? I guess we can say.
Well, I mean, I'll kick it in real quick. I have a feeling it's contributing to it severely. It feels like it's increasing the instant gratification need for, people these days. And without getting into too much detail, it really is pulling us away from the hunting gathering kind of a group where, you went out and you did stuff,
Hmm.
you played with other kids and you were physical and you did things to challenge your mind. And now if you just need an answer, you just Google it. So yeah, I could see that it's definitely contributing to the dumbing down of society.
Hmm.
What about you, Rook?
Yeah, what you think there?
I think that technology is obviously a great help to society, and with technology comes a great opportunity to actually enhance our ability to think about various different subjects. However, we seem to have used technology in a way that sort of makes us lazier and
Hmm.
less able to manage complex tasks. And some of it may actually be the fact that we're bombarded with so much information all of the time.
Yep.
And, we just have so much to manage at once and so much information coming at us that it may be overwhelming, such that we can't really, dedicate a large amount of time to actually processing all of the data that we're intaking. You mentioned hunter gatherers. Back in the day, we didn't have to worry about that many data points. All we had to worry about
Sure.
was visually what we see. Do we see a lion? Do we see a tiger? Do we see a bear? No. Okay. Well, then let's go find food. Do we see food on the trees? Do we see, you know,
Yeah,
it was very simple, you know, identification of, data or points like food or things that could reward us. It was, looking for predators. It was very simple data points. Now we have not only looking out for threats, but like virtual threats, perceived threats, and also just random fucking data points that don't even matter,
mm,
that are abstract concepts that, our ancestors didn't have to deal with. And so a lot of it could be just a simple fact that we're overwhelmed.
Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
well said because you do realize we are living in probably the most technologically advanced era of mankind in a sense. You know what I mean? So when you're talking about all those distractions and stuff, that's where I feel like social media really hits in because there's just so much and it's constantly in your face all the time. So I can see why that can be overwhelming to some. You know what I mean? Plus, I hate to say, but it's fact. You don't really know, you can't distinguish what's real and what's fake on there half the time.
mm.
You know what I mean? So like they just throw shit at you and then you figure it out. You know what I mean? And that wasn't a thing years ago, but now it is. You know what I
Well,
mean?
all right. I think the closest thing that we could have felt like that back in the day was, I mean, we have reached a point before the internet where any written wordage, whether it be like the Bible or a pamphlet or a thrilling sci-fi series, whatever the situations, we've reached a point where there's not enough time in your life to read through everything that's in a book form, let alone what we're seeing in social media these days, because that's like tenfold what we have in book form right now. So like all
Right.
the classics, your Tom Sawyer's, your Dante's Inferno, and all
Mm.
the other really poignant books that you should read something like that in your lifetime. All of that you would like need to be retired at 5 be able to read all that information.
Yeah.
It's a lot. We have a lot of information that this world has produced in the last, I don't know, 2 millennia.
Right. I mean, it's grown exponentially because not only is technology getting better, but we also now have AI,
Right.
which
Oh
can
God.
generate tons and tons of content that, we're just going to see, content grow just exponentially over the next few years in a way that will even make, the first part of the 21st century seem, mundane. There's,
Interesting.
you know, we had like, just like a very limited amount of places we could, receive information from. Like, in our parents' generation, there was just like a very few television stations and very few places from which you can get news. Now you can get news from, you know, any source, like at any point in time. There's just like almost countless numbers of, publications and outlets that you get news from. And it could be even like social media feeds. Um,
Mm.
it's just like, you know, inundates us with vast amounts of information, and to be able to sift through that is
Yeah,
getting
but
quite personal.
I can see that. So yeah, there is to parrot what you was talking about. There's a lot of misinformation coming through
Mm.
that because you can't catch it all, especially when there's so much going through. It's like trying to pick out one car on the highway that's traveling at 105 miles an hour. It's like, yeah, shit. So yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think part of it though is us as a society. The reason why it's not benefiting us in an intellectual way and really bringing us down to our base, like easier moments, like we would consume more stuff in smaller amounts because it's where our threshold is. You can only take so much of one thing, knowing that you have so much more behind it to get to. So as that number increases, your attention span to what you're working on now gets smaller and smaller. So
Mm.
I think that in the article you were talking about, they were saying like, people are looking more towards action oriented gaming and, stuff that stimulates that part of the brain rather than have you think and have your
Right.
brain interact. Because then, your neurons are firing, like you start realizing things. And that's, we lack that in this day and age. I mean, not to say nobody does it, but there's a far less fewer.
So yeah, let's talk about that study.
Yeah.
So recently there was a study that came out that basically said that over time, like maybe in the past 9 years, gamers have become less interested in strategic thinking and planning. And so, like, out of all the motivations to play gaming, they looked at, it's a survey of gamers, like millions of gamers across, 9 years. And over time, these gamers have identified, strategic thinking and planning as less desirable. Uh,
Wow.
and you could just see the decline, over the years. And,
Mhm.
you know, the study also, mentioned that, it's not just gaming, but it's, sort of cross industry with respect to, YouTube videos. Sort of the short content YouTube videos are, getting more views. And that's, they came out with YouTube Shorts, and um, you have the advent of TikTok. So everything is getting condensed into smaller and smaller quantities, which means that people are, still getting, hit and bombarded with, more and more information from more and more sources. So if that is in fact contributing to, sort of a societal cognitive decline or impairment, these trends definitely aren't, helping.
Not at all. Not at all. And if anything, it's just kind of maintaining it. And that's one thing I've always said when it came to social media in general. And I guess TikTok's probably the best one to point the finger. But then again, they're all kind of the same, I guess, in a
Yeah.
sense. You know what I mean? But I just feel like when you have something like that, and then it stays that way for like a decade or two. Because you realize even just Facebook's been around since what, like 2004 or something like that. But when it first came out, it's nothing like what it is now. You know what I mean? But the way it is now is the way it's probably been at least for a clean 9 years, maybe 10 years, maybe a little bit more. But when you have that consistency, I don't see how that's helping. What do you guys think? If anything, it's just adding more fuel to the fire. You know what I mean? It's just
Well, I mean,
consolidating and making your attention span as little as
I
possible.
I find these moments happening when I'm watching shorts. That I'll find a compelling, 15-second flick or whatever that they went through, and then I'm curious to what it was, what movie it was, what show was it, and I'll actually want to dig deeper into that. Now, whether the shorts platform should allow you to do that or not is not my business at this point because it's just what it is.
Okay.
But if it had that ability to where you were watching a clip of something, and then you can go to more of that clip to see more of what was going on. Obviously, with movies and stuff, you can't do that to a certain point because then it's copyright infringement, blah blah blah. But like, I found myself being interested in stuff and searching for it, which is, I feel, a good end of that kind of format. But again, you're right. With the 15-second tidbits, it's just flick, flick, flick.
Yeah, and
And if
then
I
you
get
like,
annoyed,
and you don't realize it because you're so these kids, especially, they're so narrow and just like drilled to it that next
yeah,
thing you know, it 3 hours went by and you watched
oh
hundreds of 15-second videos when you could have been doing God knows what else, which was
Yeah.
probably more beneficial to your life than that. Like,
that was
you
that
know what
was
I
the
mean?
worst part of TikTok for me was those 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like, where the hell did that time go?
First of all, I tend to avoid some of that, a lot of that short form content. I'm actually not in the habit of flicking, because I'm cognizant that that's, what they're trying to push me towards.
Yep.
And so, like, I've just made it, I don't use TikTok.
I don't
You
either,
know,
really.
TikTok.
I deleted that.
Yeah, unless someone
I'll
sends me a TikTok video, you know, I
yeah
won't
Well,
TikTok.
if you think
yeah.
about it,
No, I mean
they call it TikTok for a reason because it consumes all
time.
your time.
Yep.
You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
I'm a big YouTube watcher. I'll watch videos on YouTube. Sometimes things I want to learn. Sometimes a game I'm into. I need some tips. But every once in a while, I'll see like a thumbnail on like one of their shorts. I'm like, hey, let's see what this is about, and I'll watch it. And I'll maybe watch 2 or 3 or 4 more, and I'll say to myself, all right, I'm done. I'm done. I've had enough, and I'll go back to what I was doing, or just
Yeah. You have a
do something else
cutoff
in
though, at
general.
least. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no,
Well,
it gets to a point where like I start to feel like TikTok again. I'm like, no, I'm not falling down this rabbit hole again. It's like that's
Yeah, because
enough.
if you think about it, that's what like YouTube Shorts kind of is in a sense, rather than these extended videos.
Yeah, it's
You have
the
these
American
short
version of
little get to the
TikTok.
point things, you know?
Yeah, but
so
Yeah.
to your point that you brought up earlier about, or your desire to have some sort of way to, delve more into a topic of a short, or any video for that matter, I think that's
true.
where you can see AI really help out in the near future. Because if you haven't heard recently, Microsoft is not only going to, enhance Windows natively in terms of providing, Chat GPT technology into Windows, and so it can have a large context of all the files and everything you do on your computer, which may or may not be desirable for people. And hopefully they'll just have, very smart like filtration system for that and everything. And actually, it's actually available. The ChatGPT, Microsoft's version of the app is actually Copilot, it's called. It's actually available for Macs, oddly enough, right now, because they're actually integrating it within Windows. It's not going to be a separate app.
Right.
But, I could see where something like that would help people to quickly, analyze videos, or, especially shorts, since it won't, take that long to process. And you'll be able to say, hey, can you recommend, not only just like links to like things that, are relevant to that particular topic, but also, to generate, information about it, not only from the internet, but from, various other sources, and, just present it to you. I want to learn more about this, and AI is definitely going to be able to help with that.
So it's like
But-
a quick. So it's like a quick
but-
search.
But
Yes,
here's the problem.
there's a dark side to it.
Well, no. Will that actually drive users' attention away from swiping to the next video? So,
Well, all right. I could think that it could do that. It could help enhance the area that you're looking into. But here's the thing. You're taking that ability away from the person who's actually watching the video, so they don't learn how to research that themselves. And further on in the AI's life, when it starts actually making its own videos or making its own framework for a video, let's say it starts there. Like you tell it, all right, give me a character running down a field, fighting an army using martial arts, and it gives you that framework. You don't have to do much to correct its little mistakes to make it look the way you want. I'm saying, like, in the future, when AI has really been powered and has been through the mill with, all the human interfaces, and it's now become to a point where it could do a lot of like cinematic stuff and like semi real world, almost like Silicon Valley. What is that phrase called? The uncanny valley, where it's like you can almost not tell the difference if it's someone who recorded this on a camera or an AI generated image that just happened to create that scene to almost perfection. I mean, that could be a future conversation when it comes to AI, like the positives and negatives for the future advancement of us. Because yes, it'll make things a lot more convenient and quicker, and be able to get through a lot more data, which is great. The upside. Downside, it could leave us less learned into those skills that we have already established from back in the day.
Hmm.
I mean, my take.
See,
Yeah,
the
but-
thing too is it's like all about convenience. And
Mm.
like, I'm not saying that it shouldn't, because obviously that's one of the main purposes of even developing these kind of things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like they also should factor in some of the damages that this could possibly do. But, when it comes to profits and it comes to, creating something, that's not usually on the list, unfortunately. But it's kind of what it is.
you look at the Industrial Revolution. It did a lot for workers. It did a lot for companies mass producing products. But at the same time, it's now at the point where the mass produced products are usually not the best quality.
Hmm.
So you're looking to get something that someone who is in the industry of making something and wants to make a name for himself, to make something that's a little more indestructible. These things are made to be broken down these days. No one wants to saturate a market with an object. Like, if you make the best can opener in the world, opens any can, bottle, anything you want, will never break, will never rust, cleans off in the dishwasher easy. If you make enough of those, no one's going to buy another one. You'll never have any more profits after the saturated market.
Exactly. See, that's where the problem is. They're more interested in creating customers than they are just making a
they
durable
have to keep
product
they
that
have to keep
lasts.
their they have to keep in the green. They have to stay in the black. They can't,
Yeah.
for those who have investors, they have to keep their investors happy. And by doing that, you have to constantly make profits. So you can't make a quality product anymore. You have to kind of sacrifice the quality to make it cheaper, to make it
Yep.
more affordable, to
So
push
it
your bottom
breaks.
line further. Yeah. And it has
Yeah.
to break at some point.
That's
It
kind of
has to break
sad,
at
but
some
it's
point.
true if you think about it. But economically, I guess as a owner in that, it would make sense. But
Yeah.
Environmentally and everything else, it kind of don't. But here we
I
are,
feel,
right?
I feel we've gotten off topic.
A little bit,
A little
but
bit.
it's all good. That's all we have for this week on Strange Planet. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And also be sure to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Is technology causing more harm than good? Or let us know. Until next week.
Thanks.
Peace.
Peace.